So these are all of the supplies that you should have received. We've got our clay. The clay comes in different colors, so your clay might look a little different than mine. We have our plaster and our measuring cup. We've got several sheets of parchment paper and one of 4 different options for a back. Today I'm going to demonstrate the hanger. We have our craft sticks. Now one of these is going to be cut and sharpened for you. It's not too sharp, but just enough to cut the clay, and a ruler. Now optionally you may want to also have a pencil and some kind of a roller. I use an acrylic roller, but you can use a basic rolling pin or a drinking cup, whatever, what have you. Okay, here's our clay. Small piece, large piece. If your piece did not come together, or you've already played with it and it's all combined, you just want to break it up so that you have 2/3 and 1/3. That's it. Okay, we're going to start with the big piece. So we're going to set the other one aside. And what we want to do first is just play with that clay a little bit to get it nice and soft. It should be pretty soft right out of the box. And okay, once it's nice and soft, the next step that we want to do is we're going to roll out the background of our 3D piece. So this is going to be the back, or I'm sorry, the front side of your piece. And we want to roll it out to size based on what our backing is. So for instance, if your option was the 3D tripod and you want to make sure that your piece can set in there nicely, you want to ensure, if you can see this, that your piece is at least 3 inches wide. If you want it to cover the entire back, you want to ensure that it's at least 2.5 inches long or tall. If your option was the sticky back, you want to ensure that your piece is 3 inches tall or taller. I'd give it a little more space just to make sure there's plenty of room there. Now this is a little trick that is not necessary, but can be done. If you need to have a specific size, if you get one of your small pieces of parchment and just mark that out. Here's my 3 inches wide, and I want mine to be, let's say, 2 inches tall. I'm just going to mark the 2 sides so you can see I have my marking there, so I know that that's how big I need it to be. Okay, so as we're rolling our clay, it may stick to your roller, or if you're using a wooden rolling pin, you may want to ensure that you don't get clay residue on your rolling pin. So here's another little secret. You can use your parchment paper on top of your piece and roll it, and that'll stop it from sticking to your roller. Also, if you're using the measurement guide, it also allows us to see how we're rolling and to ensure that we're going to meet those specifications. I like to keep mine a little bit straight just because that's how I roll. So I am going to put my shape on here, or a ruler, like this, and I'm just going to use my knife edge stick just to score a line where I want that to be. and you might notice that I'm not doing a very good job of keeping it straight, but I just want to have a good idea of what my boundaries are. So I'm going to cut away some clay so I have some straight edges. Now this could be the shape that you want. You could maybe want yours to not be square or rectangular, but instead be an oval or any other shape, and that's okay too. I'm going to take my next piece of clay and I'm going to break it into two. So each half of this smaller piece of clay will need to cover two sides. As an example, on your instructions, you can see I had in this one, there's a flower and a butterfly. Now to do that, there's a variety of things you can do. You can draw using your sharp stick or a clay tool if you happen to have clay tools. You can also use stamps. If my piece was big enough, I could stamp this tree right into it. It's very important not to add too much water, and that can happen super quickly. So I'm going to just dip my finger in there and add a couple of drops of water and slowly stir it. If it becomes too thin, it's most likely still usable and you can go ahead and continue. Okay, so I'm gonna bring my piece back and I'm gonna scrape this in, let it pour in. Now you may have, depending on the size of your piece, you may have more plaster than you need. So I'm just gonna gently, without poking in and touching the design, because I don't wanna ruin that, I'm gonna spread this to make sure it gets into every corner. That's it. I'm going to throw that out. And we're going to then take our plaster. If you don't have it on a piece of parchment, you can gently lift from the sides. But what we need to do is just gently bounce that a little bit. What that's going to do is bring the air bubbles up from inside the plaster and away from your design up to the top. Now you may notice that I'm getting a little bit of spillage over the sides. That's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. If your design is really deep or really thick, you're going to have to be doing this a little bit harder and maybe a little bit longer, and it may get a little messier. But I'm not seeing any more air bubbles come up out of there. I think I got it. Good. Okay. If your choice was to use the hanger, I had it here a second ago. There it is. Okay. If your choice was to have the hanger, this is the time when you want to put the hanger on. We want to make sure that it's not going to sink in, and my plaster is a little bit too thin to just set this on there. It's going to sink. You'll notice it's a little heavy. So one option is to, where's my, oh, there it is. Since I stuck this in there, I'm going to wipe it off a little bit. One option is to put a stick or something through your hanger and then leverage it. Okay, it's still going to sink a little bit, and that's okay. What I don't want is for it to show through on the other side. So I don't want it to show through my piece. So I'm just going to make sure it's in the plaster, but it doesn't have to sink all the way down.